hello to our ambassador of Japan and the delegates. Also welcome the Korean Safety and Health Committee. And also I think that Hong Kong is still here. And also, if I miss anyone, just forgive me. And for sure, our director of TOSH, welcome to the evening session that I was happy to be here because it's a new breakthrough, and we will hopefully be able to bring this into a new paradigm. And we're happy we in Bangkok, Deputy Governors already explained that her plan and her safety is awesome, and congratulations for being here in Bangkok. For my session is, I'd like to welcome you to the session on the transformation of OSH to economic acceleration, which by all means it's the new subject that eventually we have to touch and we have to discuss and we have to think about how we can move forward. There are three different topics within this what I'm talking about. First is the occupational safety and health future. Second one is the safety and health while working with automation. For sure, we've touched this in yesterday and today, that automation is the subject that will bring in not only the challenge, but also how do we cope with working with artificial intelligence and robotics. We have to plan for that. And eventually, the main idea is how do we economically benefit once we start using artificial intelligence. How do we benefit from that? This last topic is the topic that we might think about it more often, because eventually if you think that artificial intelligence will help the productivity to increase, or if it will take away jobs, we have to think again, how do we manage to be able to gain financially once we start using artificial intelligence? So those are the three topics that I would like to talk about and bring in more, because we have a lot of university today in our forums, and these subjects will bring you a lot of discussion when you go back to university, when you go back to discuss with maybe you want to propose research study on these three subjects, and it will be sure to be able to bring new paradigm to safety and health. Before we go into any more detail, I'd like to talk about the statistic part of what has been done. In the statistic trend in Thailand, the current data on the accident and illness, we've been able to reduce about 2 or 2.25% year on year over the past 3 years. That's fine. The trend is we're reducing the rate of accident and illness. However, there's still a big homework to be done on the fatality, because if you go look at the statistic, you can go online, you can find out exactly what I'm talking about, fatality. And then on the other KPI that we want to talk about is the absentee of not able to work more than 3 days is reduced by 5%, which is good because our productivity increased automatic. However, when we talk about the three subjects that I mentioned before, we might have to think about the new tools that, again, this morning, a lot of keynote speakers already touched. How do we go above and beyond to reduce especially the fatalities and the risk? So the challenge is we have to maintain workplace safety, that's for sure. And then compliance issues, which the session prior to me is like standard operating procedure, work instruction, all that has been established by BMA. However, now when the incident occur, can people responsibility really do what they've planned for? So it's rehearsal will make a difference when there's issues, or you can say crises, take place. The emerging trend and technology that I want to address today is like, for example, during the past 2 years, we have a lot of, not a lot, but we actually were forced into remote work and virtual environment. Like my son, didn't go to school and just learn from just class from home, and eventually today even tutors can do online session. So that's a lot different. And the companies before you have to be in the office to work, and you have to clock in, clock out. But however, manufacturing you still have to be clock in, clock out for working. But a lot of white collar works, a lot of people will just go in and remote in, do the productivity and get the work done and log out. Second is we have to think about wearable technologies in order to be able to how we monitor and eventually the IoT. When we talk about wearable technology, maybe you don't have to be wearing it on yourself, but it can be monitoring by the CCTV that right now Thailand and Southeast Asia will move toward the data center, which if you're interested in AI, you will know that eventually it'll be centralized data center that will be moving toward what you call it. We are not at the stage of the transformation artificial, but we are, what are we right now? It starts with P, right? But before transformative, right now we're training AI. So what I suggest we look into more is to do that wearable and monitoring and improving work health safety with working with the artificial intelligence in order to be able to detect and prevent any incident that might occur. And then next is the future challenge of the safety and health is we might have the mental health well-being, which I think Maidon already touched on this subject. Once you work with especially white collar that's work with computer, work with artificial intelligence, interaction between humans and conversation might reduce. So the well-being emphasizes on growing importance of mental health in workplace. And then climate change, which is big issues. This climate change, the factor that I would like to discuss or to the floor is how climate change and environment degrading impact workplace safety. And not only that, investor also look into if we comply to the climate change and degradation that impact workplace safety. So what I'm saying is the fund managers and all those big finance group, they can rule out any manufacturing or any business entity that eventually will not plan to comply to this safety, health, and green environment. That means that if we don't plan to comply to this regulation, what we'll do is the funding and ruling out of the investing or financial market might happen. So we have to prepare for that. And eventually it's global workforce diversity. We have to address change on the globalized workforce and diverse working conditions. I was over in Israel a few months ago, and there were a lot of labor shortage in Israel. So global workforce is so close to us more than you can imagine. Now a workforce, I don't want to call it commuting, but workforce do migrate to the area, to the location with more opportunities. For this, in Asia, we see a lot of migration and workforce between Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and some to Malaysia, a lot to Singapore. And this is the global workforce diversity in the region. If you talk about Europe, they can travel within EU to be able to work. However, they still need a lot of workforce in EU to fulfill a lot of field like food and beverage, service, manufacturing, agricultural, construction. All that's still open. So it's good opportunity for Asia because we still can supply those skills. And fourth is the strategic direction of the future. We have to advocate shift from reactive to proactive risk management strategy. Exactly, I just heard from BMA deputy that we are more toward preventive. You know why? Because it's cheaper to prevent. If you go reactive, it's costly. It's cost financially, it's cost health, cost eventually, it might even cost life. So its best thing is to prevent. And at the policy level, what I suggest is we highlight the need for update policy and regulation to emerging risks. You know, because I used to work in automate design and automation, and before we actually do a mass production of the full model, back then 20 years ago, we even employed numerical control data and numerical control milling, and that's automate. However, we input the NC data into the milling machine like 5-axis. That is exactly what we have to educate the controller, how they to be safe and be healthy when they are in that environment of production, even though it's in the, not mass production, but prototype production. Eventually into the mass production, we have to educate and we have to make sure that at the policy level and regulation levels, all management, top management, will endorse and follow this mitigate risk and preventive. Okay. Then finally is training education is TOSH and Hong Kong SAR, Korea OSHA, and I think Japan OSHA also have this responsibility to training, and we have to stress the importance of the continuous training and education for worker employees. I'm glad that we have a lot of university here today, and because the university can work closely with safety institution to make sure that we come up and we design and we do PDCA in order to make sure that we have fruitful. And go back to the very first session that I mentioned about is the reduce of accident and illness. We keep going lower, like 2-3%. But as I mentioned, we still have a lot of work to do with fatality reduction. That's the challenge. So in summary, on the first one is we encourage more case studies, make sure that once we have case study, we go to best practice. And I don't think we can enforce, but we would like to have the participation of the business, manufacturing, and supply chain, logistic, all that will be involved with such best practice. That's how we can reduce the statistic and make sure that we achieve our goal. And the innovation solution, we have to encourage the presentation and study from organizations and from the university that have successfully implemented innovation on OSH solutions and move from documentation to real practice, okay? And we share lesson learned and we call of actions to more forward in the form like this. Most important is we have to make sure that C-suite, chief level in the company will be addressing what we reflect and what we can see. That's how we can get full cooperation between scholars, between I wouldn't say enforcer, but people like us that will be able to promote safety and health, and eventually business sector. Okay. Next is the second interesting keynote that I would like, the subject that I would like to bring up to the forum is, before I go, like if you follow the trend in the market cap today, who is the biggest market cap company? Some of us know, some of us, it's technology companies. Some of us carry in your wallet. Some of us use, some of us will buy a new one. It's between the number one and number two in the market cap is those two companies. And number two and number one switching back and forth. And you know exactly who I'm talking about because the guy has white hair like me and he's about my age, 60-something. He is graduate from the US. He's the one that will be addressing exactly. It's the integration of artificial intelligence. Before, the company used to do graphic card. Can you imagine a graphic card for computer games? Now it's being implemented to be like GPU is graphic processing unit that can actually transform all the activities and process that into like artificial intelligence. And you can teach them to do artificial intelligence in the data center. So AI and robotics in workplace will revolutionize industry. And you will ask how that will help us because it might take some work. So the last topic that I will bring to the panel is something that you might want to look into it in Japan, in Hong Kong, in Korea, in Thailand, because it's just a new paradigm that we have to be ready and we have to suggest to the policy maker that we have to start looking about this because the advancement will bring new challenge and risk to occupational safety. I got 2 minutes warning, but I'll just use a few more minutes, okay? So AI robotics and on OSH is highlight both opportunity and potential hazard. It depends on how you plan to manage AI and robotics. Let's look at opportunity that will enhance occupational safety and health. We'll have to move on to the, we reduce somehow, reduce by, if we employ AI, what do you get? You reduce the risk, right? You use the tool to do the work that high risk, that you don't want to really use your people to do that work. For example, hazmat. Nowadays, we want to try to use robotics and AI to detect, to prevent, because the consequence is controllable. You replace AI, you replace robot. That's the fixed asset. That's fine. You don't have to do a report. The statistic that we want to achieve, the KPI that we want to achieve remain awesome, they remain good, okay? Second is real-time monitoring, which is the idea that we can predictive analytics AI system that we can actually monitor the production line. We can even try to monitor the drivers on logistic, the warehouse. Now we have warehouse automation, but eventually we can monitor using AI and CCTV that can do the analytical bits with back office on AI. Then we can give out warning on what's the risk, what's the level of risk that you might encounter if there's no intervention before that, okay? That's the real-time monitoring prediction analysis. Then next is if we have the next one is we go to the threat. Now the threat is the training simulation AI power. Before the threat, one more is we can do AI training, virtual reality. That is another step beyond before we go production. We can go simulate it. We improve training, and then next is the threat, the challenge, and the risk on the AI is like hazardous, which is robotic can mitigate traditional risk. They also introduce new hazard, for instance, interaction between human and machine. If that's interaction between human and machine, who do you think is going to get hurt? Human, right? Because we are blood, we are flesh and blood. We're not machine. And cyber security threat, because once we have artificial intelligence and robotics, what's going to do is we're going to have some threat on the cyber security, okay? And ethical consideration, use of AI for monitoring works. Will it be acceptable? Will it not be? Or we will have to live with it? That's another strategic direction of the future that we have to do. I think my time is up, but I'll use a few more minutes. Strategic direction for the future. So what you do, proactive risk management on this, which we utilize the tools, and then just go ahead and scroll up and just go ahead and next page, just go ahead. And the collaboration standardized industry-wide, that development standard, okay? And eventually on the working with AI and robotics it's a challenge that we have to manage. We have to prepare for it. And finally is the topic that economic, how do we gain from working with AI and using robotics. Not many country has the policy, but eventually we'll have to think about if we use artificial intelligence, generative AI, if you use robotic in manufacturing, what's going to happen to the labor that we're not using them anymore? So we might have to think about taxing. So what you do, you tax artificial intelligence, you tax robotic, and you use that funding to improve your occupational safety and health. The idea is potential approach that I will bring to the panel that eventually we have to push for it is we can do direct tax on AI and robot, เก็บภาษีตรงๆเลย direct tax. That's the bottom line. Because eventually people will just work hard and work smart. We probably be work smart than work hard. So the saying of work hard and work smart will probably be work smart and work less hard. The hard part you do AI and you do robotics, but you work smarter, okay? Then you do corporate tax also. How you do that? You do business based on additional income attributable to robotic capital. That means what? That means productivity increase. When productivity increase, they can afford to pay more corporate income tax. So that's possible, okay? The consumption tax, VAT, GST, is also can be extended to include purchase and use of robots, okay? Next is we can do, next, go ahead, next is the special levies. We can do excise tax. And what I'm suggesting, we can do incentive for safety improvement. So now you can see the picture of connecting the dot. So people that concerned about if we use robotics, if you use generative AI, where's your income, where's your safety, where's your health going to come from? It's coming from this. It's incentive on safety and improvement. Once the safety improvement by employing the generative AI or the artificial intelligence or robotics, then we complete the cycle of the KPI that we set, reducing illness, reducing accident, reducing fatality, and eventually reducing absentee at work. We pay them incentive to make sure that we have tax credit for the companies and people. And we eventually monitor and adjustment PDC. So these are the three topics that eventually in the future we probably will have to discuss more and talk about and find opportunities to make sure that we enhance this. The measure aim, my idea is it aimed to benefit AI and robotic with the need to protect worker to ensure fair taxation. So that's how we finance the safety and health while we moving the new paradigm of the automation, artificial intelligence, generative AI, eventually transformation AI and robotics. So from here and to the home, to the panel that's dial in from online is, what's your thought on these approaches? Okay, the three approaches that I was mentioning. My last minute, my final is occupational safety and health and the future, then statistic that we have, and then occupational safety and health while working with artificial intelligence and robotics, and finally, how to economic gain by tax and artificial intelligence and robotics in order to do what? To better our occupational health and safety, or safety and health. Okay, so this is it's new, but I'm sure eventually we will move into the direction sooner than later, and safety and health will remain the key priority of the industrial, no matter it's the supply chain, manufacturing, food and beverage, FMCG or service. It will be the top of the priority that we want to make sure our people is safe and healthy. So if there's any question, I'm glad to answer the question, but we're running a lot of, I'm used up my time, so if that's no question, I'll be happy to say thank you and enjoy your day in Bangkok, and thank you again.
Oh, there is a question. เดี๋ยวรบกวนขอไมค์ให้กับอาจารย์กิติศักดิ์ด้วยนะคะ
Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. So usually right now we try to focus on the industry. What about the future with the informal worker that you will help them to use the technology or AI or something like that?
Informal, you mean the people that's not
the informal worker,
corporate.
like yes, they work like in the farmer, they work like the informal section, like work at home or something like that.
That's a good question, because we haven't really emphasized on informal laborers and workers that they can either be self-employed, they can work on their own projects.
All right.
They can be project-based. So if we have the statistic, ต้องรบกวนท่านผอ.แล้วรบกวนดู what are the percentage of those workforce really are, that how do we tap into them and make sure they're safe? ครับอาจารย์ I hear your concern, and I think it's the time that we have to address those loose ends that we have to circle them into that safety and health concept. But we can reach out to them, and because now we have the technology, they use their phone, they have internet, and we can try to get their membership to come in, and we educate them to have that in the statistic also. ครับอาจารย์
Yeah. So another question. Usually when we use the technology, is you get the new hazards. For example, right now, for nanotechnology, it's really dangerous. So what is the policy that when we use some new technology or something new that we will bring to our country? What do you think about how can prevention or how, before we use, what we have to do, like the research before? What is the policy or how can protect the people when they work with the new technology?
Not only biotechnology is risk, but a lot of benefit. hazardous material that we have to be able to identify. Our research, the research sector of theสสปท will probably have to write down on the concern that biotechnology that we haven't understand well, hazardous material, use equipment, and also the radioactive stuff, which do we really understand that? We have to be able to assess and understand those risks and make sure we prioritize before we bringing in those hazard without biotechnology. We have to understand it, อาจารย์ เพราะฉะนั้น that's another key suggestion that we have to address in our forum, the hazardous of materials and knowledge. It's not only material, it's also the knowledge that we talk about cybersecurity. Are we ready? What happened? We talk about IoT, Internet of Things. What happened if we have some mishap on the network, on IoT? Are we ready for that? So when we talk about that issue, it's under the umbrella of safety and health. So you can think about how big our responsibility in this forum can turn out to be. When Ajahn asks about that question, it brings the light that your responsibility is so big that we have to really sit down and think about it, because safety and health is the umbrella. And now we have to dissect into what pillar are we ready? What pillar is still the challenge? Ajahn bring out two challenging pillars that we have to address. So, ท่านผอ still a lot of homework that we have to go on, and we have to get a lot of stakeholder to be circle in this forum and make sure we serious about it. So our key KPI, statistic KPI that we set up to report to GOPO will be also included to this concern. It's preventive. Ajahn bring out exactly the bullseye question. What you got to do about it? Preventive act, right? Or counter action, costly. ขอบคุณครับอาจารย์
Thank you